Problems at the pump aren't new in Corpus Christi, but what is how the state inspects what you pay for. Today, there are about 400 cars being kept here under lock and key by police. To give you an idea of how much sewage we're talking, think of it like this. It could fill up about 7 backyard swimming pools. And each time there has been damage, the failures have been here along the walls of the channel. You can see where these concrete pieces fit together like a puzzle. But since we first told you about this problem more than a year and a half ago, the caseload has dropped significantly. Under the law, police determined that it should be classified as assault by contact, which is why it was lumped into the same category as jaywalking or running a red light. And last night we learned that these lines you see on the screen are the paths of student pilots, and those stretch across the entire property. Did your client put his mouth on her breast?
No.
Is the reconfiguration of this campus that was discussed during that meeting, is that something that addresses the Navy's concerns?
Well,
and I haven't heard back.
Well, from the district standpoint,
Do you think that there was a misrepresentation to people in the public on that and your credentials?
No, and I'll say it one more time. I'm an aerospace engineer.
I feel like this is a time of year that we love living in South Texas, right? Low
Yeah, for
humidity.
that little window, the spring, the fall.
A suspicious package left at a Southside post office has police trying to determine who left it there. Not only has Judge Guy Williams received a paycheck the entire time he's been off the bench, but the state also has paid 6 visiting judges to keep court in session. It was this surveillance video that ignited a heated public conversation last week about domestic violence and how this case was handled. Police later arrested Vasquez and charged him with misdemeanor assault. His girlfriend refused to press charges. That was in 2016. But it was a deal made in February 2017 with District Attorney Mark Gonzalez's office that set the stage for what Vasquez had to do. At the time, he was in his homeland, Venezuela. If he followed the terms of the plea deal, the case would be dismissed. The deal is called a pretrial diversion agreement, and they're typically allowed for first-time misdemeanor offenders like Vasquez, and usually those agreements are restrictive.
That he absolutely did not buy his way out of the charges.
Pretrial diversion agreements typically don't allow someone to live outside Nueces County or travel outside of Texas, and they require a once-a-month visit to the probation office. But for Vasquez, the DA granted several exemptions. Vasquez could be in Venezuela or Laredo. He could travel if needed, but only for work or with permission, and he was allowed to check in with probation by phone, mail, or email instead of being there in person.
And we did everything we could to leverage the fact that he wanted to play baseball, despite the fact that he was not on American soil.
And for the case to be dismissed, here's what Vasquez had to do. Follow the requirements set by Major League Baseball. And the case records show for Vasquez, he completed an online course about domestic violence. He also had to work 50 hours of community service, pay all standard court and probation fees, and Vasquez had 1 year to do it. But court records show 8 days before the deadline, Vasquez still owed the court a couple $100s, and he hadn't completed his community service. That meant he was not compliant, and the case was set for a jury trial on March 5th. But instead of going to trial, the DA's office requested that the case be dismissed. Vasquez's court file doesn't say why, so we requested Vasquez's probation file. And it showed instead of community service, Vasquez made a $500 donation to the food bank, and the DA's office allowed it.
Honestly, I don't know all of the attendant circumstances, but I do know that it's something that we've allowed for people who are not baseball players, people who are not in the public eye, people whose cases are not high profile. It's actually a relatively routine thing.
Now, First Assistant District Attorney Matt Manning questions if that was the right decision.
But perhaps in retrospect, we could have done something different, like let the case, just languish and hope that he comes back and then deal with it then.
Jessica Savage, 6 Investigates.
A frustrated phone call for help nearly 3 years ago is how I first came to know Cassandra Perez. She was pregnant, due any day, and unable to find a doctor willing to deliver her baby boy. What's even more troubling is why she said she no longer had a doctor.
Cassandra was 35 weeks pregnant when she knew something was wrong. Her baby was perfectly healthy. Her concern was her doctor.
That didn't even cross my mind that he would ever do something like that. That was just terrible.
During a routine doctor's visit a month before her due date, Cassandra asked her OBGYN, Dr. Juan Villarreal, to check for a lump. What she says happened next crossed the line.
and that's when I felt a latch, like his mouth. That's when I freaked out.
And so when you say like a latch, you felt
His mouth on my breast.
Dr. Villarreal's attorney responded to Cassandra's allegations.
Did your client put his mouth on her breast?
No, he adamantly denies that occurred.
As for Cassandra's criminal case, no charges were ever filed by the prosecutor's office at the Corpus Christi Municipal Court. We tried to find out why, but we were told the office does not comment on criminal cases.
The file from Corpus Christi police showed that Cassandra made the report on May 6th of 2016, and under the law, police determined that it should be classified as assault by contact, which is why it was lumped into the same category as jaywalking or running a red light.
You know, when we get these types of cases, they are frustrating for not only the victims, they're frustrating for everybody involved. We operate within the letter of the law.
Texas is one of only 6 states in the country where you can't get any jail time for sexual assault unless it rises to the level of rape. Otherwise, it's considered a Class C misdemeanor called assault by contact. The maximum punishment is a $500 fine.
It's horrific, right? I think you have to keep in mind also that most victims of these offenses don't report to police ever. And so when somebody does, and then the response is that dismissive, to say that this really wasn't a serious crime, we can't really do anything about it, I think feels like a slap to the face to a lot of victims out there.
But Chris Kaiser with the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault is leading efforts to change that legal perception.
This seriously benefits perpetrators. If you just get a traffic ticket for this kind of offense, you're free to do it again, and there's nothing on your record that indicates anything more than just a citation from municipal court.
Under the atmosphere of accountability created by the Me Too movement, Kaiser said victims are now more comfortable than ever to talk about how the system has failed them. He said Senate Bill 194 would be a step in the right direction. It would create a new criminal offense in Texas called indecent assault, a way to pursue accusations like Cassandra's. So far, it has the support of a Senate committee, which agreed last week that the bill will move ahead to a full Senate floor vote in the coming weeks. On the House side, State Representative Todd Hunter is backing an identical bill. As the legislative debate plays out, Cassandra continues to deal with the trauma of her experience. As she waited to deliver her baby, she decided not to go back to see Dr. Villarreal, and she had trouble finding a new OBGYN. Most doctors won't take new patients that close to delivery.
Nobody wanted to take me.
An on-call doctor at the hospital ended up delivering her beautiful baby boy. She doesn't know the name of the doctor. As difficult as it was for Cassandra to share her story, she hopes changes in the law will ensure that this doesn't happen to someone else.
As for Cassandra's police report, records show the case was forwarded to municipal court prosecutor's office. What we don't know is what happened there, but police have listed the case as closed. We found another case against Dr. Villarreal that was treated the same way, but there's no way of knowing just how many other similar cases are out there because the law doesn't require that they be labeled as sex crimes. But Senate Bill 194 would change that, making those cases easier to track for law enforcement. For 6 Investigates, I'm Jessica Savage.
Now, you may have recognized the name of Dr. Juan Villarreal in that report. As we've reported, he's currently under indictment for sexually assaulting 3 other patients. Now, he denied those allegations. However, the Texas Medical Board has temporarily suspended Dr. Villarreal's medical license.
Land for the new Mary Carroll High School campus is part of a crash zone for the nearby Cabaniss Airfield. That's where Navy pilots begin their flight training. And it's part of the reason why the Navy recommended back in March that CCISD not build Mary Carroll High School in that area. CCISD says those concerns have been addressed.
They actually had more concerns about the school being in the flight path, and we actually took that recommendation and moved it.
Here's a closer look at the 60-acre piece of property. Right here in red is where the crash zone is. The Navy says the area you see covered with yellow lines is a future crash zone, and that's where the district originally planned to place the classrooms. But after the Navy raised concerns, CCISD moved the school over here to the other side of the property. That change means the planned athletic fields will still be in the flight path. Carroll Tiger parents we spoke with, like this one, have concerns.
If that's the case, then they should really look for a different location, especially if the Navy doesn't recommend it.
The Navy's recommendation is simple: to avoid the potential of a plane crashing into a building with lots of people inside of it. The new high school is designed to hold over 2,000 students. The risk is there, and it's something CCISD considered.
We don't know of an accident that's happened around this training base.
In fact, 2 Navy flyers were killed when their T-34 trainer crashed in January of 2006. The plane went down in a residential area off Yorktown near Waldron Road. And the other reason the Navy recommended against the school being built there is the noise caused by low-flying Navy planes.
You know, with the buildings that we're building right now, the students won't even be able to hear those planes.
And even though the $210 million bond proposal that would fund the new high school still needs voter approval, public records show CCISD bought some of the land on October 4th. More than a month before Election Day. About an hour ago, district spokeswoman confirmed that they have bought all the land they need and that they stayed within the district's $10 million budget set aside for that land purchase. The district says if voters approve the bond, that money will be reimbursed. Lee?
All right, thank you very much, Jessica. As she just mentioned, CCISD issued a statement late this afternoon where they once again said they have taken safety and flight activity into consideration when selecting the site. As you may know, there's another new high school under construction out near Cabinets Field. It's being built by the School of Science and Technology. Now, we checked on it, and that property is not in a crash zone, although it is close to one.